Welcome to the Counselor tutorial for managing your clinic list. We'll begin by clicking on Administration in the top menu bar and then selecting Clinic List. This is where, of course, you can see all of your active as well as potentially any inactive clinics in your list. Right? To see inactive, just click on the list. It will unhide it, or you can hide it again. Of course, if you have one clinic location, you'll see that here. If you have any part-time or satellite locations or multiple full-time locations, of course, you'll see all that information here. If you want to edit any of these, you would simply click on the edit option. Now there is just, a delete option off to the right. If you attempt to delete a clinic that has activity within it, Counselor will basically give you a message saying, hey, you can't delete this one because it is currently being referenced. It currently has, active patients and all kinds of different things going on. So we recommend doing is if you do want to remove an active clinic from your list, simply click edit and then disable. So you would uncheck this option and then click save. And that would disable this clinic and would move it into the inactive list. Okay. If you need to add a new clinic, you would simply click on Actions and then Add Clinic. Now, as part of the initial setup process with Counselor, the Counselor support team will likely be assisting you with many of these different steps, not only just the process of adding clinics, but a lot of the customization. So as we go through this overview, if there's anything you have questions about, or perhaps you're just being introduced to Counselor, there's a lot in the clinic setup areas. Just know the Counselor support team will work with you directly to get your preferences in place and make sure things are functioning properly. And if down the road, let's say you acquire a new location or you start a new location, once again, we can assist with getting all those settings in place for you. But I do want to walk through them so you have a sense of what's available in these administration sections. So I'll take the first clinic on the list here and just click the edit option. Now, once again, a lot of tabs, a lot of different options available here where the Counselor support team can guide you. Of course, the general information here is going to have the basic info for the clinic. So if you move, this is where you go ahead to update the information, right? Or if you change your phone number or fax, or you want to update your email address, this is where you would do it. Also, you can store your clinic logo. Counselor will likely assist you with this process as well. You can see your existing logo by clicking on the icon. Like I said, you can disable clinics from this point as well. As we move down the line here are some areas that you may need to modify from time to time, right? So this is where you can control your clinic staff. So you can say which of all the people that have profiles within Counselor for your account, which ones are we considering to be providers? People that that will show up on a patient visit, to be more specific. So you may have 10 people on staff, but you only want 4 people to be able to be added to a patient visit as the provider of record, right? So you can decide which ones you want to add there, which individuals. Same thing goes for invoice staff. Maybe you don't want everybody to show up as the person of record on an invoice. That's entirely up to you. Or if you say, yes, we want everyone to be available, then go ahead and leave this as all staff. Okay. Little options here where you can decide when you create a patient what the default status is, what their default phone type is, right? Just some little settings behind the scenes that can kind of customize that experience. Here's another important one, the schedule feature. This basically says, all right, who is going to show up on the schedule and in what order? So as you click on names, it's going to rearrange things. So if I take John off, for example, right, it removes him. Now Kathy is going to be, when we look at the schedule, will be the leftmost person on the schedule, right? So if I said, you know what, these are kind of out of order, I'd rather do it differently, you can go ahead and uncheck everybody. You typically do this, by the way, in off hours because this will affect the schedule in real time. So if you start doing this when calls are coming in, people might say, hey, all of a sudden that provider disappeared from the schedule, right? So likely during off hours, you'd want to modify this. But we're going to say, okay, we want Kate to be leftmost, then Debbie, then Nancy, then John, then Kathy, right? Just by doing that, we can see it ordered those providers. Maybe add Sally as well, or maybe Sally's in different locations, so we won't add her to this location. It's important to know, once again, we're editing one clinic right now. So you may have more staff members, but they don't necessarily always go to all the locations, right? So you only pick the providers that go to those specific locations. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and click close. I should mention, of course, any changes you make here, once you're finished making the change, so if all you need to do is modify the schedule or the clinic staff, then you, of course, can go ahead and click save, right? That's going to lock it in. So just simply by setting this and clicking close is not going to change it. That will just change the view. you need to click Save back on the main screen there. Now within the schedule settings, there's also some advanced options we can help you with, specifically as it relates to online scheduling. So there are some tools here behind the scenes. So if you have any questions about that, this is likely where we will direct you to get links and embedded code to put in your website and emails for online scheduling. There's a lot of tools there. Looking a little further here, you can decide, how you want, or if you want to include the patient portal in your clinic website, and there's directions here for that. This would be something your web developer would work with. You can decide which manufacturers you work with the most, right? You can add as few or as many as you like. This will dictate which manufacturers show up in your drop-down lists. So initially, you may see a really large list and say, we don't need to see all those manufacturers. Let's slim this down. And some other options here like activating Counselor No Cloud. Telehealth by default is activated. You could deactivate it if you wish. There's no charge for telehealth. It's HIPAA compliant. It's unlimited. So very likely you would just leave it activated unless you had some other reason to take it off. As we move here, we can see caption phone services. There are 3 that Counselor directly integrates with that you can activate and then submit caption phone applications directly to from within a patient profile. There's also tools related to financials, right? Set up QuickBooks. This is both QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. Counselor also has integration with the accounting system Xero. There's customizations to your tax setting, credit cards, financing, different options here. Once again, these are the types of things that Counselor would typically walk you through, or the support staff would walk you through as you're getting set up. But just to be familiar, there's a lot of different options here. As we go further, you can activate call messaging. You can change some settings regarding how you do email messaging, text messaging. You can activate a full fax center through Counselor where you have all your inbound and outbound faxing going right through Counselor. Activate call tracking. Call lookup is when you can determine the specifics on a phone number that's coming in, that you've entered into Counselor, whether it's a landline, cell phone, work number, whether the number is invalid, right? So there's some tools here that you can activate very quickly. Looking at other integrations, 5 Keys, Amplify, Blue Wing, Sonova, right? So a lot of different options here, including some patient review systems as well on this last tab that you can activate very, very easily. So once again, if you make any changes to any of these areas, you do want to make sure you click Save. That will lock in those changes. And you're good to go from there. So if you need to move forward and add any additional information or change information to a different clinic, certainly click Edit. You can see back in this list, you can see the NPI number for a specific location. That typically is important to have, most importantly, if you are submitting claims, right, insurance claims. And that here's one area where you control that under financials and insurance settings. You can set this up. So if you ever have a change, once again, to your address, or for some reason if your NPI changed, which would be unlikely, but it could, you can go ahead and modify this information in your account and then click Save. And in the case of the NPI, you would see it updated right away here. Okay. Of course, if you have any questions about how to modify, how to add new clinics or disable existing clinics, please let us know. Give us a call, email us, live chat with us. We are always happy to help. Thank you very much for joining us for the Counselor tutorial for managing your clinic list.